This day has brought terrible news and great sadness to our country.
Phil Spector is now out on $1 million bond.
Police found the body of 40-year-old actress Lana Clarkson in Spector's home.
The Los Angeles coroner ruled that the death was indeed a homicide.
Tragedy in Chicago. 21 people died as panicked partygoers rushed to get out of a club.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting crushed. I'm like, I'm gonna die right here.
Another tragedy at a nightclub.
We're on stage, I'm feeling this heat. I turn around, and the whole wall's on fire, the ceiling's on fire.
The death toll now stands at 97.
It's a miracle. We just are so grateful.
14-year-old Elizabeth Smart had been kidnapped from her bedroom at gunpoint.
Elizabeth was found in a suburb of Salt Lake City with a drifter, his name Brian David Mitchell. The World Health Organization is calling it a world health threat.
This is the biggest health care crisis we've had other than HIV over the last 50 years.
The question of war, the debate over how to disarm Saddam intensifies.
I will not leave the American people at the mercy of the Iraqi dictator and his weapons.
Military forces in the Gulf are continuing to prepare for what seems to be the inevitable.
Protests against the war have been getting lots of attention. France, Germany, and Russia have staked out their opposition to authorizing war.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq.
The war with Iraq is underway.
We crossed into Iraq with the very lead elements of this division.
It was the Iraqi ambush of an army maintenance outfit in the city of Anadaria that received so much attention.
U.S. Special Forces rescued Private First Class Jessica Lynch.
Well, the humanitarian situation in Iraq is deteriorating. It is not a disaster yet, but the clock is ticking.
A statue of Saddam Hussein toppled to the ground with the help of U.S. Marines.
After 3 weeks in Iraqi captivity, all 7 POWs are alive.
And a young man coming up to me, man, United States Marine Corps, I'm taking you home.
The body of a woman washed up on shore in Northern California.
Scott Peterson is being held under maximum security for the deaths of his wife and unborn son.
I can only hope that the sound of Lacey's voice begging for her life is heard over and over again.
Pleading not guilty is 2 charges.
That's correct, Your Honor. I'm innocent.
The president made a pretty dramatic entrance.
In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed, and Iraq is free.
But that landing has now stirred up controversy. A shocking hazing incident in Illinois.
It's not that big of a deal. So a girl got her head split open. She's not dead.
A hiker in Utah pinned by a boulder for 5 days.
I feel that I did what I had to do.
He cut off his own arm with a pocket knife to escape.
Dark days for the Gray Lady.
Jason Blair was forced to resign from the Times when it was discovered he plagiarized.
I'm truly sorry for my actions.
Eric Robert Rudolph, after the massive 5-year manhunt of the alleged Olympic Park bomber, a young rookie cop stopped Rudolph on a routine patrol.
Martha Stewart could be moving from the frying pan into the fire.
Martha Stewart is being prosecuted not because of who she is.
The last place I would ever want to go is to prison.
I didn't force her to do anything against her will.
Kobe Bryant is battling charges of sexual assault in Colorado. In the northern city of Mosul, there was a ferocious firefight, and in the end, Qusay and Uday were dead.
It's a disgrace that the case for war seems to have been based on false intelligence.
The bombing of the UN headquarters in Iraq, at least 20 are dead, 100 wounded.
Thousands were trapped in subways. Millions had to be evacuated from office buildings. From Detroit to Cleveland to New York City.
I think I can say for certain that this was not a terrorist act.
An estimated 50 million people left in the dark. One of the big questions people are asking, how could a power outage this massive have happened in the first place?
It was a time of remembrance.
I love you, Daddy. I miss you a lot. Richard, Anthony, etc.
At the World Trade Center site in New York.
And my brother, Simon Modestavuka.
And at the Pentagon, formal ceremonies gave way to mute reminders of that terrible day.
And back home. And my uncle, James Joseph Carson Jr. I love you so much.
I don't think he's been
The controversial commentator Rush Limbaugh quit ESPN under fire.
It's shocking to actually hear that on, national TV.
Rush Limbaugh has been under investigation in a probe into possible illegal drug use.
Famed illusionist Roy Horn was mauled by a tiger while he was performing his act on a Las Vegas stage.
The life is our show, and the show must go on, and it will.
At stake, the State House in Sacramento.
I'm going to run for governor of the state.
His announcement was a shocker and changes the landscape dramatically in an already unusual race.
This recall is an insult to the 8 million people who went to the polls last November.
At least 15 women claim Arnold Schwarzenegger sexually harassed them. Don't call him the Terminator. He's California's governor-elect Arnold Schwarzenegger. The firefight in California.
The heat is unbelievable. It's so intense you can see the smoke coming off those cables. Wow, let's back off.
There are something like 12,000 firefighters out here on the lines, and the death of one of them underscores the enormous risk they're taking.
It's pretty much my whole life up here, so to see it go. But we'll pull through.
A 13-year-old surfing champion is recovering after a vicious shark attack in Hawaii.
With the jury, find the defendant, Robert Durst, not guilty.
Jurors are defending their verdict, even though Durst admitted to killing a neighbor.
Trouble in Neverland. Dozens of law enforcement officials search Michael Jackson's ranch in Southern California.
An arrest warrant for Mr. Jackson has been issued on multiple counts of child molestation.
A North Dakota college student vanishes while she's on her cell phone. Authorities think she may have been abducted.
There's no chance that we're going to find Drew alive, I believe.
After one of the most intensive manhunts in history, a haggard Saddam Hussein is captured alive.
And now the former dictator of Iraq will face the justice he denied to millions.
Tell me the truth.
I'm not on that chair. Too much rejection causes cancer.
Well, that sounds fun.
You all fine, but you crazy. What did you think?
You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you? Yeah, I kind of did.
I'll drive. A ring-a-ding-ding.
Hey, what do you guys like better, nurse or cheerleader?
That was naughty.
This is awesome. I'm telling Mom.
You dig it?
I can dig it.
I'm not stupid. Just because we're rich doesn't mean that we're not good people. Is this chicken or is this fish?
This is fun.
Boy, am I glad this wasn't a beauty contest.
Do we know each other?
Not yet.
A bigger mess than the Exxon Valdez.
Andrew Oakley, just like your mom.